right, on this episode of the Homie Trinity, we're going to talk about the last two episodes, actually, of The Last of Us. We had an episode that dropped last Sunday, of course, and then because of the Super Bowl being on Sunday, they dropped another episode on Friday evening. So we're going to get you guys a double shot today of Last of Us talk. To start off with, man, we're going to go ahead and hit up on episode 4. So just to recap, Joel and Ellie started their travels across the U.S. and they started looking for Joel's brother, Tommy. While driving, Joel shares information with Ellie about how things were. I mean, this is all new to her. She's traveling across. I mean, she even said, I've never even been in a car before, when he was talking to her about reading the map and stuff like that. So she's nervous about how the infected, when they come up on the woods, whether or not the infected are in the woods or not. Joel pretty much tells her they're not this far out. You know what I'm saying? There's nothing for them to eat on out here. So they're not this far out. She did pick up on something, though, man. She noticed that Joel sleeps on his right side because of the wound that he got. You know what I'm saying? So he's partially deaf, if you would, in that right ear. So he always sleeps with his left ear up to be able to actually hear anything that's coming. As they're working their way through, they're working out towards the Midwest. I think they were heading towards Kansas City based on the signs and everything along those lines. They wind up getting ambushed. Their car gets attacked, because of dudes in the middle of the street, asking for help and everything along those lines. And it winds up turning into an ambush. The ambush turns into a gunfight. That gunfight leads to 3 or 4 different people getting shot. There's a struggle. Ellie's in hiding. She comes out. She uses the pistol that she had picked up in episode 3, shoots a dude in the back. Joel sends her back around the corner because he doesn't want her to see him wind up killing dude. And then we flash over to what we're assuming is going to be the new villain. This chick, Kathleen, has a doctor. She's interrogating him, you know what I'm saying? Trying to find out why he said what he said to Fedra that wound up causing her brother to lose his life. You know what I'm saying? While she's talking to him, she gets interrupted. All of the bodies from the street fight wind up being brought out. She blames some dude named Henry. At this point in time, we don't know who Henry is. You know what I'm saying? Even though her top person basically said this wasn't Henry, this was an outsider, she, if you would, pokes the fire, if you would, for the crowd that's there, saying that Henry arranged it all. Joel and Ellie are trying to find a way out of the city. They're trying to find a way out of Kansas City. And basically, they break into a building. They work their way up. I think they get to 33 different steps or whatever the case may be, floors before Joel finally just basically says, I can't go any further. So he breaks up some glass. He puts some glass out so that in case anybody tries to come in and sneak up on them, he can hear them. And then the episode ends with Joel actually sleeping on his left-hand side. So his right ear is exposed and he's greeted by a young man holding a pistol to his face. And that's kind of how the episode ended. So,
the glass didn't work.
Unless they were
neither one of them.
They could have been past where he dropped it.
Yeah,
right.
Could have been.
Yeah, I mean, I think all in all, man, like, you can tell there's something that Henry did something in the episode, you know what I'm saying, or prior to, because that's all that Kathleen talks about is this dude Henry and Sam. But she doesn't appear to be somebody that before the infection actually started, that she was even like this, you know what I'm saying? Like, she just has this very personable way about her and everything along those lines, but then she just casually shoots the doctor in the face, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, I'm trying to get a feel for what she was all about, man.
She's a new character. She wasn't in the game. So they're definitely adding, villains and storylines that weren't in the game per se. Even like the whole Henry and Sam situation is kind of new. Like the way they're introducing the game and how they all meet up and their experience together is really different. There are portions of this encounter that kind of resemble the game, but yeah, Kathleen is your typical charismatic psychopath leader. Like she is, like, so they definitely, they went that mode for just copying somebody that's going to like move people and motivate them to do whatever her will and bidding is. But yeah, overall the episode was really well done, man. Like I love the way the camera angles in this show is like presented to people. It's like even without seeing the infected, like you're getting that tension because stuff will get real dim, then it'll get dark, then you get see a little bit of light, and then you come back, and like the whole time you're like, oh snap, like what's about to pop out. So they're doing a great job with that, even before you even get somebody rushing at you with, like Royce like to say, crab claws coming out your mouth. It's well done. I got a problem with Ellie. Be like, maybe because I'm an educator and I have kids, like I have a problem with hard-headed kids. Like, dude said, stop doing this. Don't do this. And she does exactly like it's like she's deaf. Like she's not paying attention. Like, what are you doing? So it's their dynamics are kind of similar to the game, though. Like you could tell he doesn't want to get attached to her. But it's inevitable. Like we're all three loving cats. So most of the people, not just our families that we get involved with, we kind of grow attached to them the longer we're around them. So you could see him starting to break down that wall of like, hey, I'm not letting this person in. And now you're gonna start seeing where not only is he gonna like let her into his life, he's not just cargo anymore. Like she's gonna be somebody that he cares about, which is gonna come into play later. So when you see Henry and Sam, their introduction is also different. Like Sam isn't deaf in the game. Just like Joel isn't deaf, or he's not going deaf in the game. Like they had to add those elements, I guess, to to make Joel feel kind of vulnerable, so he's not like this action hero, diehard. Bruce Willis not gonna die. Like he has a weakness. Like clearly, that's why boy almost like got him with the shotgun. That was begging for his life, talking about, oh, it's over. We're friends now. Yeah, it's over now because you got this slug in your gut. Like,
yeah,
seconds ago we weren't cool. Like you weren't trying to take me home to meet your moms. You were trying to assassinate me. Even that encounter, like in the game, Ellie kills that person. Yeah, she kills him. In the show, I guess they're trying to like, I don't know what they're doing with the whole kid theme, because like kids are getting murked. They kind of don't want you to see the kid murking somebody. Like even going to another room, like he's trying to, in this crazy world of disaster, he's still trying to shield her from like the ills of murder and the guilt. And you can tell after that how traumatized he is by that. He's like, it was my fault. You shouldn't have saw that. Like you shouldn't have had to do that. Even though she didn't do the killing shot or whatever, like in the game she did. But in this, I guess for the viewers, they're trying to like make sure we don't get crazy with these kids. But yeah, this chick is annoying. She doesn't have any manners. She's always touching stuff she ain't supposed to. She coming up with these jokes at the most ill-timed like parts of the show. Like, chick, we got unbathed characters chasing us. I ain't got time to be playing these joke pun games with you. Get your stuff. Let's go and follow my directions. I don't understand what she's doing. Yeah, so she's ill-mannered, so she needs better home training. The ill line in that show for me, was like when what's her name, Kathleen, was interrogating the doctor, and she was like asking him something. He was like, "Yeah, well, I had a gun to my head," and she was like, "Yo, what did she say, Royce? There, have like, yeah, get your mind right." So I thought that was an ill line, even though she's a new character. I thought that was dope.
My take on the show, and like I said, I've never played the game. For this episode, what got me was they pulled up. They were in, I think Joel said they were in Kansas City, and they stop at the overpass, and the truck is right across the entrance to the overpass. To me, that's like flags. That's like red warning. Like no, that truck was put there for a reason. Like,
correct.
They're blocking. They're wanting you to go the other, like he said. Oh, we'll just go a couple of blocks up into town, and then we'll hop right back on. No. That semi truck was put there for a reason, to get you to come that way so I can rob your ass. No, My thinking is all he had to do was go right back up there, hop the curb, hop on the hill, go up by the fence, and you're right back on the other side of that. But no, we got to show that we got to produce, we got to make it interesting. So that's what they do. I'm like, no, you should never go that way. You should never do that. So, and as far as Ellie, being hard-headed, it's kind of a it's kind of a draw to the way life is now, man. I mean, kids these days act like they know everything, and they haven't seen everything that their elders have seen, so they don't want to listen. They want to go out their own way, but in today's society, there's a lot of safety catches to keep you from doing things. But the world that they're in, she want to be hard-headed and not listen to Joel. She gonna get bit by a crab face. So she needs to start paying attention and doing what the man say to do.
Like, no, you can't go to the mall too late. This is like there are cats out there that's trying to chew on your face.
Yes,
you must pay attention.
And the crazy part about Ellie, man, and like the kids and everything along those lines is that we're talking about from what we see in today's day and times, but they're still teenagers in some cases. You know what I'm saying? Or in Sam's case, it appears to be younger than that. You know what I'm saying? So for them, this is all they've ever known. So yeah, she's a little bit hard-headed, but at the same time, out of everybody that is still currently alive in this world, she's the least one that's worried about getting bit.
True.
That's reckless.
Like, you know what was going on in Jeffrey Wilson, didn't you?
Right.
Yeah, I won't getting shot.
You weren't going in there though, right?
No.
No.
Just like her, I was going in there and I was hanging out like an idiot. So I guess I'm gonna be just like her. See, you know,
I almost got killed in Outer Barber. Like,
yeah, we did all of them. And me being a little mulatto, you know.
This dude here. Now, I thought that like you said, Ren, one of the ways that they have, and I mean, we've been talking about this for weeks, man, but the way that they're shooting the show, the way that they're actually physically including, if you would, the environment as a character. You know what I'm saying? I thought one of the craziest scenes though was when Kathleen and, you know, like one of her people went and opened up that door when they were looking for Henry and Sam, and the floor was basically doing the worm, and she was just like, yeah, we'll worry about that later. The hell you mean you're gonna worry about that later?
Yeah,
the whole floor is cracked and the joint was doing the wave.
Priorities are not in order, B. Like, if the ground is shaking, you might want to address that first.
So what was that? Because like I said, I'm not as up to this show game like y'all were, but I saw that. Only thing I can think of is that's a bunch of fungus heads about to pop out.
It ain't just that. So I don't know. You want me to tell you? Like, I can tell you, but don't tell you. I ain't do it. All right, cool.
Okay. And I mean, like I said, I think, you know, the way that they ended this show. Now, this show did move on, like episode 3. This show did involve a lot of current day stuff. I don't think there was any sort of flashbacks or anything along those lines that they've done a couple of different times in, you know, the episodes that we did and have had. This one was strictly in today's day and time. You know what I'm saying? It was an active, if you would, movement, progressing the show into that next level and everything like that. But it was just, like I said, I think that the suspense of, and I thought it was weird, man, like there was no infected anywhere in sight.
In episode 4.
And it was crazy because when he actually pulled up and he looked out the daggone window and he saw like what would have been a gate that should have been closed and it was open. And he took pause and he was like, and I think, Royce, that kind of led to him not being worried about, you know, where everything was blocked off, so they take a different route, because if that door was open,
there ain't nobody there.
There's probably anybody there. You know what I'm saying? So, but no, episode 4, it definitely moved the story along, which leads us now directly into the double episode that we have for y'all, since we got 2 different episodes of this leading into the episode that premiered Friday night, episode 5. Now this one, unlike the previous episode, this one actually does have a flashback. So this one actually starts 10 days prior to Joel and Ellie actually being held at gunpoint. You know what I'm saying? So this one actually shows Henry and his story with Sam actually moving through the city, trying to get out of the city. And we actually find out that he was a collaborator. He was somebody that basically was a rat. He gave Fedra information about people that they were looking for. And what we found out after the fact was exchange for medicine for Sam, who we find out in this episode is his little brother. He had leukemia. And of course, like he said, there was limited supply available to them. So he actually, by giving information up, was able to get some medicine for his brother. They worked their way through, and he actually the doctor actually hid them in that attic. You know what I'm saying? That was actually killed in the episode beforehand. We actually find out that as he was getting ready to make that move to get him and Sam out of the city because he had timed up the patrols, that's when he actually sees Joel and Ellie crash. And then the gunfight, he actually sees Joel kill the Fireflies.
Mhm.
So he winds up following the two of them. This kind of flashes now to Kathleen. Kathleen has a bunch of people that she's basically holding hostage. She's trying to find out still where the hell is Henry and Sam. I mean, that's pretty much what it basically boils down to. That is her sole purpose in life, is to find Henry, because Henry is directly responsible for her brother's death. He's the one that gave the information to Fedra in order for Fedra to be able to find him as the leader of the Fireflies there in Kansas City, or as what he called it, Killer City.
Mhm.
So we kind of work our way up to the point where episode 4 ended. At that point in time, Henry basically comes to an agreement with Joel that they're going to work together. Henry knows the city. He knows that they're trying to get out of the city. And so he comes up with a plan to use the tunnels. He then tells Joel that he was a collaborator. Joel almost bailed on him, you know what I'm saying? But then he told him the reasoning behind him actually doing it later on in the episode. And Joel kind of relaxes a little bit on his view of him. But we find out the reason why there are no infested, you know what I'm saying, within the city grounds is because Fedra had actually pushed all of the infected underneath into the underground. And Joel then says, "But you want to take the tunnels?" And he was just like, "No, my contact in Fedra told me that they cleared the tunnels out 3 or 4 years ago." So they make their way down into the tunnels, man, and actually come upon and that was kind of suspenseful. I mean, we'll talk about that in a minute, but they work their way into an area where there's a whole bunch of drawings on the outside, and kids drawings, and they go into this room and they find out that, or we find out, Joel tells Ellie that when everything first actually started, a lot of people got forced underground, and this was probably a cut, if you would, of people that had pushed themselves underground. And I thought it was funny because, kind of tailgating off of what we had just actually said, she actually says, "I wonder what happened to them." And Joel says they didn't follow the rules. They actually had rules on a whiteboard, you know what I'm saying, for that specific thing. So it's at that point in time that we find out exactly why Henry turned and gave Fedra the information in regards to Kathleen's brother. They make their way through the tunnel. They're actually on the outskirts of town working towards a bridge, and all of a sudden they get fired upon. Joel works his way around, works his way up into the tower. And I thought it was funny because it still shows that he does have a softer side, because he gave the dude that was shooting at him a chance. He said, "Put the gun down, wait an hour, and then you can go on about your business." And he started raising the gun. It flashes back to the street level with Henry, Sam, and Ellie, and you hear the gunshot. Well, at that point in time, we get back up into the tower and we realize that this dude was working with the Fireflies. There was a walkie-talkie down there. Kathleen says, "Hold him there. We're on our way." Joel goes to the window, screams, "Run." And at that point in time, literally all hell breaks loose, man. They come
Yep.
around the corner. They got the daggone trucks. They're plowing through everything. Joel is actually up in the tower now with this dude's rifle trying to take out. He's not worried about anything else except for Ellie. He's not worried about anybody else on the street except for Ellie. So he's trying to take out the daggone truck, and he winds up getting a kill shot. The kill shot then leads the truck to crash and then catch fire. At that point in time, they're stuck. They're behind the daggone car. They got all the daggone soldiers in the world out there. And then, Royce, this is where shit really hit the daggone fan. The truck sinks down into the ground. And once that truck sinks down into the ground, man, all the daggone infected come out. And I don't know who the hell that big son bitch was, but he was menacing, to say the least. Joel's up in the daggone tower, man, trying to take people out, clearing a path for Ellie to be able to make her way. She winds up seeing that Sam and Henry are stuck underneath the daggone truck, and there's infected trying to get at them. She makes her way across, and it winds up being one of these things where they finally make their way to the house, and Kathleen comes out. And at that point in time, this crazy, freaky little girl that actually had Ellie trapped in the car at one point in time pounces on her, and it's a wrap. You know what I'm saying? So they make their way across the bridge. They wind up in a daggone hotel. They go to sleep. And before they go to sleep, Ellie and Sam are having a conversation. And mind you, he's deaf. So he's got one of them little writing pads that you rip up like this and then write again. And then it kind of clears it out. And he asks her, are you afraid? Are you scared? And she's like, all the time. She actually says, "I'm scared of being alone." And he asks a question at that point in time and says, do you think you were the same on the inside when you turned into a monster? And then shows Ellie that he had actually been bitten. So Ellie tells him that her blood is medicine, cuts her hand and kind of rubs his leg and everything along those lines. He asks her to stay up with her throughout the night. She says she promises to do so. They wake up the next morning. Sam's turned. They break their way out into the front room. There's a fight, if you would, for the gun. Henry winds up with the gun and winds up killing Sam. Dude is so beside himself, man, that he winds up turning the gun on himself. And the episode kind of ends with Ellie and Joel burying Henry and Sam outside, and on a little pad and everything along those lines, Ellie just writes, "I'm sorry." And it was sad for me, man, just watching that portion of it, because she hardened a little bit at that point in the episode, because she was just like, at that point, she was like, which way's west? And she kind of turned on heel and she sort of walked away. And Joel looked down at the pad and actually saw that, you know what I'm saying? It said, "I'm sorry." And this episode was dope to me. I'm sorry. Of all the ones that have come out so far, man, this one's probably been my favorite episode.
Yeah, definitely dope.
So, Ren, you got anything on it?
I mean, you covered most of the points. Like, for me, it's just like, again, this chick is mad hard-headed. But like Royce, he nailed it on the head, yo. Like, if there's a barrier, like, I'm not hard-headed. If there's something obstructing my way, I'm not gonna be like, I've got to get through it. Like, unless it's like a real life challenge that doesn't involve like stacks of trucks. But if there's a barricade in front of a tunnel, I'm going backwards. I don't care what you say.
The other way.
These jokers do not take heed to that. And then you said something about, well, the door was open. Another red flag. Why is the door open? There's a reason. It would not have been open if stuff the way it was. No, I'm not going in there. So a lot of hard-headed people in this. But there's just a couple instances. I'm like, man, don't go in there. I'm like that dude, like Eddie Murphy said in the movie theater, like, yo, don't jump through these. You're gonna lose your pistol when you jump through the window. Like, there was clear sign of don't go that way. Tunnels, nah, yo. If either one of you guys say, hey, we got to go down in these sewers or tunnels to get somewhere, I'll send you a postcard. You can send me a courier pigeon message saying, hey, we made it. I'm not going in there, yo. It's dark. It's dirty. You already know how I feel about lack of Purell. Not going in there. So I thought it was cool, but what was the illest part of this is the conversation that you see the father figures or the older heads having in terms of like why he ratted boy out. You could tell he didn't want to do that. That wasn't his intent. But what was at stake? Someone that he cared deeply about, it could have lost their life. So those type of things lead me to think like, well, damn, like, what would you do if you had to make a tough call between, bigger, purposes or your loved ones? So if you're listening to like the podcast, the creators or the writers of this, they're really trying to like have a spin on love, because we think of love like Sleepless in Seattle and Disney movies, like how, oh, it's this great thing. And then, you find somebody, you do the right things, everything's happily ever after. Well, this freaking movie show, whatever, like love is jacking everybody up. Like, he literally like sacrificed somebody who was a leader and like moving people. He gave that person up just for his brother. Admirable, but we got words for that back in the way. Like, that's a snitch. Like, you don't want to be caught snitching stuff. But I've never been in a position where I had to make a call between everybody else and my family. So I think the writing is dope on that, because it gets you to think outside of like the infected. Like, what you gonna do if it's on the line for your house and your house? Like, are you going to hold firm? Now, pay attention to the verbiage in that dialogue, which wasn't in the game, that if they do what I think they're going to do, that comes back in much later. And then you're going to be like, damn, I remember what he said and why he said that. It'll come back up. So definitely reason for people to talk. But, I think overall it was really well done. I had a problem with them playing FIFA World Cup in the sewers. Like, you got to be quiet. Like, what are we doing? I don't understand the young people in the show, man. Like, hard-headed. The sniper scene is kind of straight out of the game. Like, that's part, but they left some stuff out. Like, there's this whole water segment where they get separated, and Ellie and Joel are one way, the brothers went the other way, and then like Joel takes offense to that. Like, yo, you didn't even try to help us. You know what I mean? And then later on, there's another small little beef and they clear it up. They took that out of the show. And then just the way he dies, like that's very similar. But the sniper scene was dope. That was kind of like the game. So if you haven't played it, I strongly think you should, because you get all of that backstory too. But I liked it. I thought it was really good. The bloater, that's what you were asking about. What was it called? What is he? That's like an infected who's survived decades. So yeah, them jokers like Zangief in Street Fighter, yo. Like
He ripped dude's head clean off his shoulders, dog. Just and just dropped him and kept it moving.
And I don't know why a girl had to be like told to run. You see that coming out of the ground, you don't have to give me no instruction. I'm out. I hope you can run fast. I hope your zips are tied, because I'm out.
What DMX say? Dying like white chicks in horror movies? Like, you don't have to tell me to run. Like,
right.
No. Like, if I see people coming at me and I don't know why they're coming at me, I'm gone. Like, I don't know.
But you see, love for her jacked her up too. We just talked about it. Like, she should have addressed the immediate threat, but she had to like avenge her brother. Like, she was so like lost with that rage and vengeful spirit. She was like, I don't care about nothing else. That is not, what did she say? That's not my 7th priority.
Yeah. Right. And the funny part about the whole thing was that she was putting her brother's revenge ahead of everything, but then told Henry that he shouldn't have put Sam, and his kids die every day is what she said. You know what I'm saying? But, she should, but it's okay for her to do it, but it's not okay for Henry to put his little brother's health in front of everything else. So the show is dope, man. This episode,
he's alive right now, but your brother's dead.
Right. Yeah. It was crazy, man. Like it just, the way that they have, and from what I understand, I think one thing that was different between the game and the show was it was Pittsburgh and not Kansas City. So but yeah, no, I mean, I don't know, man. The way that they actually are, they're trying to keep humans with a little bit of humanity about them. You know what I'm saying? But like with Ellie in her particular case, how she started in episode 4 with telling the jokes, and there was actually a scene at the end of episode 4 where she told the one pun to Joel, and then they shared a laugh. And it was the first time that he had laughed since the first episode when it was his birthday and they were celebrating. You know what I'm saying? He hasn't laughed one time in the entire daggone series until that moment. And so you start to see that wall between the two of them come down. When they were in the shootout scene and he was in the tower and he was actually taking out everybody, he did not shoot towards Sam and Henry the entire time. The sole person that he was worried about was Ellie. And I think, like I said, just progressing their relationship along the lines, man, like, I don't know, man. Like he doesn't want to, I think, attach himself as that father figure, but I think he sees himself sliding into that role at this point in time. So, but it was
definitely
love in this show. Definitely, like, not your friend.
Get you killed. Yeah,
it'll get you killed. It'll get you killed.
It will get you killed.
Yeah. Oh man, there's so much I wish I could tell you guys right now, man. Like, you'll see.
So with that being said, let's go ahead like we do every week and give you guys the preview of the episode coming up next week.
I tried with Sam. I wanted to save him.
Well, I reckon it's a lot more complicated than that.
I thought she was Jesus.
Brother.
Tommy!
Tell me, those things that you judge me for, who did those things to keep us alive?
We did those things. They weren't things. We murdered people.
Be careful who you put your faith in. The only people who can betray us are the ones we trust.
This joint is dope, man.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it, man. Like the way that they're moving this story along and everything like that, man. It's that's good stuff. That's good stuff.
I'm gonna put it out here now. Never played the game. First season. Do you think it's going to be a second season, a third season? You know how HBO does it. HBO does 5, 6, 7 seasons of everything. Do you think this storyline, this plot has enough meat to make it 4, 5, 6, 7 seasons?
I don't know about 4, 5, 6, 7 seasons, but I could definitely see this stretching to like 4, maybe 5. Because
I think it all. Go ahead, Ryan.
No, I'm just saying because like if I'm thinking of from the game where we are in the game right now, I mean, I don't even think you're like halfway through the game, and they added stuff. Kathleen and what's the other thing they added that wasn't in the joint? Shoot, it escapes me right now. But the scene with the 2 boys in the compound neighborhood, like those are all stuff that they've elaborated on. So I could just see them continuing to add bits and pieces here to stretch it out, filler episodes. And remember, there's a Last of Us 2 game. So even if this show takes what episode we on 5?
Mm-hmm.
So what do they typically run? 8, maybe
8
10?
to 10.
Yeah. Right. So
10,
I could see 3 more episodes of this, and it still have portions of the first game they still got to cover for the beginning of second season, and then they can run that for a whole season, maybe season and a half, and then the second game is crazy. Like Sony, man, like well done. Xbox, you'd be ashamed of yourselves. Like you're not doing what you're supposed to when it comes to exclusives. Like this is probably one of the better storyline games I've ever played. Like close to The Division. Like I thought The Division was an incredible story. Like Division 1, dope game. The developers screwed up the second one. Yes, you did. The first one, awesome. That storyline was dope. I wish they'd make a Division movie, Royce. That would be ill, right?
So the funny part about that, so Jake
one.
Gyllenhaal was supposed to actually be. It was a Netflix movie.
It came out.
Yeah, there's a
No.
Division.
It's
There's
in
a
process
Division
at this
TV
point.
show or something out, ain't there?
Oh, well,
No, it's
man,
in process.
sure.
It's supposed to be dropping,
Okay,
but
right.
it hasn't dropped yet. But
Okay.
no, and I
Right.
think that kind of goes back to when you have something that you're using for source material, like they can only go as far as what the video game is. And if Sony was smart, they wouldn't let them get ahead of the game, because then Sony is essentially putting out content for what the show is. So, if we get a quarter of the way, halfway through the game in the first season, you're looking at anywhere from 3 to 4 seasons of this potentially, and then if another game drops after that, moving on into that world itself. But again, you can only go, but say Sony turns around and says that the Last of Us 2, that's it. You know what I'm saying? There's not going to be another one. That's all that you have to work with. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know. All in all, man, show's just friggin' fire, man. There's a reason why everybody's talking about it.
Yeah. Dope. Wish you guys played the game.
Yeah, man. Let us know what y'all think about the show in the comments, man. If we missed anything, please let us know. As always, man, follow us on all of our social media. Make sure that you are hitting that subscribe button so that you get that notifications whenever we post any one of our videos. Like our stuff, man. I hope you guys are appreciating what we're putting out, man. And as always, man, y'all have a good one, man. Peace.
Yeah, peace.
Peace.